dance with the devil in the pale moonlight.
Great that bit, isn't it?
What an intro.
Good evening and welcome to the Action Popcast for another episode of Real Impact. First thing I'm going to say this evening, my throat feels like I've swallowed a cactus, so you'll have to deal with these deep, sexy tones of my voice this evening. But anyway, enough of that rubbish. We have a guest this evening. He sat to the side of me. There's no point pointing because I'll get it wrong on the camera, so I'll do that. And it is Martyn from a long time ago. Hello, mate. How are you this evening?
I'm very well, thanks, mate. I'm really looking forward to this because this is one of my faves. So yeah, it's gonna be a good chat. Hopefully, it's gonna be great.
That's good. That's good. I know you're all prepared and you've got a list of things you want to discuss and all that. Yeah. Look, it's just an informal chat. Like, I'm going to start off by saying this is not a deep dive into the history of Batman because I haven't got time to do a 50-part series because the history of Batman is huge. So we'll touch on it a little bit, but the main focus of tonight's stream is Batman, or Batman 89 as it has become known. I love it. Martyn loves it. If you're here, I'm guessing you all love it. So before we get into it, shall I say hello to a few of the people in the chat, Martyn?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. I'll tell you what, I'll read them and you be the hype man. How's that?
Okay.
You're
Cool.
down for that. So very early in this evening, we had Vintage Toy saying, I'm
Dave.
Batman. What's up, VTR Dave? How
How's
are
it
you?
going?
We have Monkey Boys Toys arguing with him saying, no, I'm Batman.
Monkey boy.
Some numpty thereafter said, no, I'm Batman.
Don't know who that is.
And then another numpty said, I'm king of the Wicker people.
One of my favourite lines.
It's a great line. Great line. We also have Jojo in, and she's telling us she's hungry. So go and get that sorted, Joe. You've got to get that sorted. You need to get the calories in. We also have the one, the only Emma C. Hello,
Hey,
Emma C. How are you? Thank you for joining us this evening. Didn't twist your arm at all earlier, did I? We also have someone called Stephanie Long. Any relation, Martyn?
I've heard of her. No, of course I have. Yeah, she's my lovely wife. How you doing, Steph? She's in the other room. She's in the other room with her notepad in case I say anything I shouldn't.
Well, we'll do our best to avoid you saying anything you shouldn't. Oh, wow. We also have Inspector Gadget. And he says, a stream about Batman, wowzers, he's shiny and rich, but no, what? Nick, put your glasses on. Wowzers, he's shiny and rich, but no crime fighter has more gadgets than me. Oh, I think Bruce would challenge you on that one, Inspector Gadget. I mean, but in fairness, he doesn't have penny and brains to go and sort it out for him when it all goes wrong. That's
true.
That's the thing there.
I think he's also missing the helicopter hat as well. I mean, come on.
That helicopter hat was great,
It's
wasn't
awesome.
it?
Absolutely awesome. Yeah.
I want a helicopter hat.
Yeah,
anyway,
definitely.
Back into the chat. We also have Pod Racing Palpatine. Hello there.
That helps.
We have Manga Fandanga, Sai, a super Batman fan. So no pressure, Martyn. No pressure at all.
No. Yeah, Sai's going to be keeping a close eye on us tonight, I reckon, in case we make any mistakes.
Oh, and we're going to make mistakes.
Lots of mistakes.
Lots of mistakes. We also have Connor from Fuller's Figures. He's saying he's Batman. I'm going to have to get to the bottom of who Batman actually is in this chat, to be fair. We have Delvian Seek. Evening all. Evening, Delvian. Thank you for joining us. We have the lovely Georgie Norris. She says, evening all. Massive thanks to Georgie again for joining us on Saturday night for the Labyrinth stream. If you didn't get to see that live, please do go and check it out after this. It was a really cool discussion. Thoroughly enjoyed that one. Oh, we also have the Dragon Reborn. Hello, troops. Hello. Let me have a look. Oh, we have Kieran Ball. Hello, Kieran. Good to see you this evening. Oh, we also have Kat, and a big thank you to Kat for joining us on the panel on Saturday night for Labyrinth. Says, hey, Nick and Martyn. We have the artist formerly known as Stu, the Universal Toy Collector. Now he's saying he's Batman. I just can't get the grips of who's Batman.
It must be the multiverse of Batmans or something tonight.
Yeah, there's more Batmans here than I don't know what. But yeah, no, that's the main list for now. I will greet others as they come in this evening. But yeah, thank you for joining us all, everyone. As I say, me and Martyn, our main thing is just to have a chat about the film. So before I go into a brief little history of the film, Martyn, this film, Batman '89, when did you first see it?
Now,
or what's your first memory of it, rather, should I say?
Well, my first memory of this film was the absolutely huge promotional push this film got before it was released. I think for about 9 months before the film came out, you were seeing that iconic Batman logo everywhere, bus stops, posters at the cinema. There was, there was toys. It was everywhere. And, I don't think even at the beginning there was a trailer even put out that early, but this Batman logo got me so excited. And my only experience of Batman before this film was that, like most people, was the 60s series, which I absolutely loved as a kid. It was absolutely brilliant. So I loved Batman, so I was really looking forward to this. And as you can imagine, obviously 1989 I was only 11 years old, so I wasn't able to go to the cinema to watch it. So I actually had to wait until it probably would have been 1990 to see the film. And my dad came home one evening, unbeknownst to any of us, that he was going to bring it with him, but he rented Batman from the video store. And my mum at this point was not interested in the slightest in sitting down and watching Batman. So we were relegated upstairs to one of the bedrooms to watch Batman on a 14-inch color TV with a VHS, obviously. And even though it was on a tiny little screen, and I sat there riveted as an 11, 12-year-old the whole way through. I couldn't get enough of this. As much as I loved Batman, and I'm sure we'll probably go more into this later, the character that stood out to me more than anything was Jack Nicholson's Joker. And that night when I went to bed, I was on such a high. I had school the next morning, and I was just doing the giggle in my bedroom, thinking I should be going to sleep. I was reenacting scenes in my head that I'd just seen on the videotape. I just loved this film. I must have seen it so many times. It was after the Star Wars era. I think Indiana Jones came out, Last Crusade came out the same year, but around this time, Batman for me was my new focus in life, if you like. I've got all the toys, all the toys I could get anyway. That was my first experience of this film. Sorry, went on a rant.
No, and but that's what we're here to talk about, these things. So my experience of it, I can still remember the day quite clearly. It was the night that Sky Movies premiered it. And my mum used to be a care home worker, and she used to do the night shift, and she used to have this black leather jacket, which obviously when I was probably 5, going on 6 by the time it hit Sky TV in the UK. And I remember playing with her leather jacket on, like keep jumping off the sofas. I was so excited to see this film because Sky had this big build up with the trailers and that. My mum and dad were going to let me watch it, And I can remember my mum being like, I need my coat back, and getting really upset because I was like, no, I want to be Batman. So my mum went to work cold that night while I watched Batman with my dad on Sky Movies. And just like you, I was absolutely glued to it because I remember Dad recorded it as well. So then I had it on tape.
Oh, brilliant.
And that was incredible. And I was blown away because I brought this slide up while you were chatting about it. This is all I knew of Batman before sort of the 60s campy TV show with Adam West.
Yeah.
And that's what I knew for Batman. So it was such a departure. It was so much darker. And, and I watched it again last night. I always, whatever film we talk about, I try and watch the night before I do the stream just to really get it into my brain. And I forgot just how great this film is. But yeah, Tim Burton and that dark edge is absolutely it's incredible.
Yeah, it's I mean, the film gripped. I mean, I'm speaking for myself, obviously, but as soon as that film starts, it grips you because it's probably got arguably, probably after Superman theme by John Williams, the second greatest superhero theme, in my opinion, ever. And it just starts off with that Warner Brothers logo, and it sort of
transforms.
Fades into the camera, and you don't know what it is. It's flying around, and then it just, it pans back, and there's the bat sign, and as a kid, I mean, I love that opening so much. It's absolutely brilliant.
Interesting little thing I found out about that opening is Tim Burton gets a bit salty now, or he has got salty before, because the Warner Brothers logo transforms into the Batman logo. He was the first person to do that, and apparently that took a hell of a lot of work to do. That was an incredible feat back then, and I was like, well, everyone's doing it for every Batman film. That was my idea.
But they recreated it, didn't they, for the Batman animated series? I think it literally starts exactly the same way. I love that show as well. But I mean, you can definitely see the Tim Burton thing stuff going into that animated show, definitely. But yeah, it's such a great opening, but all of it's brilliant. Let's be honest.
Yeah, it is excellent. So I'll just give us a brief. I've got some brief notes on the history of Batman that I'll just go into, just to cross the I's and dot the T's, so to speak. So, and I'll bring up a slide to support this. So the first appearance of Batman was in Detective Comics 27 in May 1939. It was created by Bob Kane and Bill Finger. And you look at that there, and that's absolutely excellent. And just to the side of that, I've got the cover of Alan Moore's The Dark Knight Returns, which incidentally is one of this and The Killing Joke are cited, or at least I found this when I was doing all my research. A lot of people reference these, and the darker tone of these is inspiring Tim Burton to take the tone he took with this movie. Back into the history, though, then you had the third time for this slide this evening. You had the Adam West TV series, and that was in 1966, starring Adam West as the campy comedic version of the Cape Crusader. The series ran until 68, which surprises me. I thought it ran for absolutely years, but only 2 years. And as I say, there's going back to the previous slide with Detective Comics on and the Alan Moore comic there. There was a lot I was coming across online about the influence of that comic and The Killing Joke and the darker tone, the more real world tone, which, as I've already said, Tim Burton put into this movie. And then this film, so now we're going into the film. I mean, I believe they were trying from as early as 1983 to get this done, but several scripts were rejected. And it seemed as though the TV studios actually wanted this version of Batman to be really quite campy, like the Adam West series.
Oh, right.
And eventually it lands in the lap of Tim Burton, and he gets hold of it, and they get this darker script put together, and they present it to Warner Brothers, and Warner Brothers basically say no, and they pull it. And then Tim Burton goes off and does Beetlejuice, and apparently Beetlejuice, because of how well Beetlejuice was received, this is what kickstarted us getting Batman 89. So I guess we have to thank Beetlejuice for that.
Yeah.
So before I go into any of the other bits and pieces, I just want to say hello to a few more people in the chat, if you don't mind me doing that, Martyn, because we've had a few new arrivals. We have had Gerard O'Connor. He says, hello, my friends. Hello, Gerard.
Hey, Gerard.
Great to see you. Super Spanner Gerard is here. And we've got a few super spanners in tonight, to be fair. So behave, boys and girls. They're the Dark Knights this evening. And we've also been joined by Uncle Keith. Hello, Keith.
Hey.
Thank you for joining us this evening. Great to have you in the chat, mate. Thank you for being here. I'm just having a quick flick through the comments. We've also been joined by TJC.
TJC.
Good to see you, man. And Jumpy McClunky's here.
Jumpy.
Great to see you, Jumpy. Always good to see you. Just jumping down. Oh, let's have a look. So, what I will say this evening is I do read all your comments, and I will get to as many of your comments as I can through this evening. But to try and keep on track and to try not to jump ahead of the notes I've got, please don't think I'm ignoring anything if it comes up. I try my best to include you all, but it's it can be quite hard to keep on topic and do the. And that's on me. That's not on you guys. I appreciate your participation and everything, and please never stop chatting in the chat. It's there is one comment here I do want to bring up though before we go on, because this goes. From Kieran Ball, he says, famously, actor Cesar Romero wouldn't shave his mustache, so they just caked his white lip with makeup. Yeah, and that's a great spot there. Seeing that, Kieran, I just wanted to bring that up. Yeah, if you actually look in that picture there, Cesar Romero would never shave his tash off. So I know we're talking Batman 89 here, but what a diva, eh? But then, in fairness, I wouldn't shave my beard off. That's because my neck looks like a turkey scrotum. So we don't need to go into that.
In a related story to do with the Joker and Batman '89, Jack Nicholson, in his contract when he took on the role as the Joker, stipulated that he wouldn't start until 10 a.m. every morning, because in those days he said he liked to be out till 3 a.m. at casinos and restaurants and stuff. So he had it in his contract written that he wouldn't start work till 10 a.m. And then as soon as he came in, apparently, I read all this as I did a bit of research on the film, he'd sit in the chair to get his makeup done and just fall asleep for a few hours to make up on the sleep he didn't have the night before. So if you're the Joker, you've got to be a diva, Nick. You know, it seems like it's part of the character.
And a correction here from Kieran Bull, my apologies. The Dark Knight Returns was written and drawn by Frank Miller. Alan Moore just wrote the introduction for it. Okay, cheers for that. That one slipped my net. But as I say, we did say earlier this evening we would make mistakes, and but always happy to bring a correction in there. Let's have a look. So yeah, cheers for that, Kieran. Where were we? Yeah, Jack Nicholson. So I did hear that he also had a clause in his contract because he was a fan of the LA Lakers.
Yeah.
And they had to give him time off to attend games.
Yeah.
And he had quite a unique pay structure for the film as well.
Yeah, he got a percentage of the profits. He was so confident, apparently, that the film was going to do well, that he had it written in that he'd get a percentage of the box office. And I think he made something like 60 million from the film in terms of money. Correct me if I'm wrong, you've probably done a bit more research than I have. If you were to turn that into today's money, it's probably the highest paid anybody's ever been for a film. I think I read that.
Yeah, so from what I understand, his usual fee was around $10 million back in the day for appearing in a film, and as you say, he was so confident with the success of this film, he agreed to $6 million and a percentage of the takings of the film and the merchandise, which it's not identical the way he did it, but it's not too dissimilar to what Alec Guinness did for Star Wars, although Guinness wasn't quite so convinced that film was going to be a success, and who knew. I'm just going to jump back to Kieran's comment, correct me there. Yeah, I can see what I did there. Dark Knight Returns, 1986, Frank Miller, redefined Batman as a gritty agent vigilante, and what I did there was I brought the slide up. Rather than reading my notes, I've read the little text on the bottom there. Silly me. Yeah, so Jack Nicholson. And also, did you notice that on the poster for the film, he's actually billed before Michael Keaton?
Yeah, that was part of his contract as well, wasn't it? Yeah. Yeah. But I think at the time, though, he was a much bigger star than Keaton, wasn't he? I mean, Keaton's breakout role really was probably Beetlejuice. And I think, obviously Nicholson had decades before then of, quality movies he'd released. So I don't necessarily think that was a bad thing. And I think from what I watched, up front, I watched the making of Batman documentary yesterday after I'd watched the film, and just to sort of refresh my memory. And Jack Nicholson was quite heavily involved in promoting the film as well as actually acting in it. So I think he certainly did his part when it came to being in the film.
Well, there were a few people that they had, the ones that stand out in my memory. I always have notes, and as we just found out, I should reference my notes, but I try and work from memory as much as possible. Tim Curry, they wanted, at one point they wanted Tim Curry. I mean, the most famous role for Tim Curry for me, some people say it, for me it's Frankenfurter from the Rocky Horror Picture Show. He was Pennywise in it. And also Robin Williams really, really wanted the role, and he really fought hard for the role. And he kind of feels as though they duped him a little bit, and they used him because Jack Nicholson was non-committal, and then they told him Robin Williams wanted the role, so Jack Nicholson took it, which then pushed Robin Williams out. And then later on, was it Batman Returns with the Riddler? They offered him the role of the Riddler, and he basically said no, not interested. They kissed and made up eventually, but these little things. So I mean, could you? I could see Tim Curry doing a great job of it. It would have been very, very different. And I think
Yeah.
we had the absolute best choice. How would you have felt with Robin Williams as the Joker?
Yeah,
because I love Robin Williams. He was a comedic genius. But
yes, I mean everybody loves Robin Williams, and he's absolutely. I mean, how many films has he made that have made me laugh? I can't count them. But there's a part of me that thinks I don't know if he could. He would be a good Joker, but then we're sullied by the fact that Jack Nicholson did such a great job that we can't imagine anyone else. And if I just quickly refer to another Batman film, I don't know how you felt at the time, but when Heath Ledger was cast as the Joker in Dark Knight, The Dark Knight, I think there was also the same sort of, that's an interesting choice. And then he absolutely knocked it out of the park. So I think that,
I remember the backlash. And this is a great segue for something I'm going to go into in a minute about Michael Keaton. The backlash for Heath Ledger playing the Joker. At the time, people were up in arms. How can you do this? You should get Jack Nicholson back. Well, why would you get Jack Nicholson back? Because it's a completely different retelling of the story. And people were really against it. And I believe the moment when people sort of shut their mouths a little bit was, but I think it may have been on Maxim or one of the big film covers. They showed a picture of Ledger sat in the prison cell with the makeup, when he's there. And I think people were a bit sold because, and as I say, the segue here is Michael Keaton. People didn't want Michael Keaton for this. Warner Brothers got something like 50,000 letters from disgruntled fans believing that he would make it campy, he would ruin it. He was too small for the role. He wasn't sexy enough for the role. These were all things that they wrote. He wasn't muscular enough. People absolutely slated it. So what this pushed Warner Brothers to do is they really quickly put together a trailer. They didn't even have the music, and they got it in cinemas just to say to people, no, this is what you're getting. And of course, people saw that Batman was coming now. He was in the all black cowl, the all black outfit, and it silenced people.
Yeah. Well, that trailer, that 30 seconds trailer that you're talking about, became the hottest bootleg item in 1989 at comic book conventions, and they were selling for about $25 per videotape for a 30-second trailer. That's how popular that trailer was, and how how it picked up the hype machine, if you like, for the movie itself. So yeah, I mean, you're right, they did have problems, and they had to silence the critics. And I think I saw Tim Burton said he was really happy that the production was taking place in the UK at Pinewood Studios, because it was, they were away from all of the noise that was going on in the States, because like you say, there was a huge backlash against Michael Keaton. They thought they were going to make it like 60s Batman camp, but yeah, I mean, history tells us a different story, doesn't it? And I think controversial, I'm going to say something off the bat, but he's my favorite Batman. Michael Keaton is my favorite Batman. I think if I had to choose one, so I think they did an excellent choice picking him, and I think he does an excellent job in the role.
See, I knew I was too young to have any concept of. I'd seen Beetlejuice as a kid. Funnily enough, last night we're sat watching Batman, and Carla says to me, she's watching this, she goes, "Why is he so familiar?" I was like, "He's Beetlejuice." She's like, "Oh." I'm like, "Really? Go to bed. You need some sleep. What are you doing?" What are you doing? She's like, "I thought I recognised him." I was like, Tim Burton directing the film, Michael Keaton, Danny. I mean, all these. Burton has a formula.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's, but yeah. So Michael Keaton, he got absolute abuse there. What's this comment here from Pod Racing Powers? Batman, what is best in life? To crush the goons or see them driven before you and hear the lamentation of the supervillains. Cool quote. There was one I really wanted to bring up, and where has it gone? I think it. Here we go, Palps. I'd say it's clear that Burton preferred the villains to the hero. I do think that it's more of a Joker film than it is a Batman film, in my opinion. How do you feel about that one, Martyn?
Oh, it 100% is a Joker film. And I also read something really interesting that this is the only Batman film where there's only one villain in the movie, which I thought was really interesting. And that goes to that when you learn that, you think actually this shouldn't be called Batman. It should be called Joker, really, shouldn't it? Because he's got all the best. Well, he hasn't got all the best scenes. I mean, there are some great Batman scenes in this film, but the iconic scenes, I think, are definitely Jack Nicholson's. And I think again, having watched the documentary and read a bit of info, is I think the script wasn't complete for the film, and they had ad-libbed quite a lot of stuff in the film, and Jack Nicholson ad-libbed quite a lot of his dialogue during the film. I also read that the scene in the cathedral at the end, they'd built these steps as part of a set piece, but they had no idea where the steps were going to lead to, and it was a last minute decision after Jack Nicholson had gone to see Phantom at the Opera at the theatre, and he came back the next day and said to Tim Burton, I think we need to do a top of a cathedral fight scene for the end of the film, and that's how that came about. It's just, so I think not only perhaps Burton was early in his career and he didn't have the sway perhaps that he would have now, or a bit further down the line, so he was kind of a bit, Jack Nicholson perhaps was taking charge a bit more, which made sure he got the best stuff, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, if you've got a star like Jack Nicholson on your side and batting for you, I mean, look, the guy walked in, named basically what he was going to get paid, knowing he was, because I don't know if I answered it earlier, they said I think he grossed initially around $90 million from the deal he did. That's not inflated for today's money, so that's an astronomical amount of money. He had all that sway, so the very fact that he, him and Tim Burton got on was a massive bonus for him. I'm just looking at some of the comments here, and Jonathan Redmond says, I could see Curry as Batman, but Robin Williams is just so out there as a pick. And people, Kieran here, saying Robin Williams would have been great as the Riddler, don't see him as the Joker. Keith Knight saying much the same. So yeah, a lot of people saying that they wouldn't have seen him as the Joker, which is pretty much the consensus out there. Which is what you read online, should I say? Let's have a quick look at what Keith says. I would agree with Martyn. Keaton best Batman from the films, but Adam West will always be the Batman. Yeah, I mean, we've got to. I mean, I'm going to bring this slide up again. I've made it. Let's abuse it. Look at him there. Look at him. That, to me, that's seeing that is as iconic as seeing Michael Keaton in the black suit. They've both got their own moments in history and pop culture history, so they are just as important. But while I've got this slide up, taking a look at the outfit, it's incredible. I mean, poor Michael Keaton could hardly see in it, hardly hear, hardly move. It was very rubberized. He felt massively claustrophobic on set. I saw an interview of him saying basically, he at one point he was saying to him, I don't know if I can get through the shoot of this movie. This is too much. He's a claustrophobic guy, and he pulled through it. So fair play to him on that. I think.
So I was going to say, I think not just Keaton, but a lot of the Batmans, because the suit is so unforgiving, I think it helps the movement of the character of Batman. Yeah, I mean, when in one of the scenes, Batman has to turn. I think it's when Joker's in the chopper and he's just blown up the Access chemicals, and he has to turn. But the way he turns, because he can't turn his neck, it looks on film. It looks absolutely brilliant. So I actually think sometimes that the suit really helps. The fact that they haven't got as much movement.
Even Christian Bale in Batman Begins with that outfit, he had the exact same problem, and they make a point of it in the story of the Dark Knight, don't they? About the
movable neck,
move his head. It does. It gives him that iconic, and that's the thing with Batman. It's never, when he's got that cowl on, it's never it's the whole, but it gives that real presence, and of course you've got the cape and everything. So I'm glad it's how it was.
What did you think of? Sorry, Nick. I was going to say, what do you think of that? The introduction to Batman at the beginning of the film, where the two guys have just mugged the family, and they're sitting there, and they're arguing, and they're counting the cash, and American Express, don't leave home without it, and then you kind of see in the background, you see him holding his wings, and you just see him float down. I mean, what an amazing entrance to the film! They couldn't have done that any better, as far as I'm concerned.
That was perfect. And I saw some people online slating the fact that Batman went down when he got shot. But I think it's better he went down because he goes down and he gets back up. That's more menacing almost than the bullets just bouncing off of him.
Oh, it totally is much more menacing. Yeah, I totally agree, because they think they've killed him. They turn around and then they hear the ground move, and then there he's back up again with the wings up, and then he just sort of throws his wings down. Right now, I mean business, and then just kicks that guy through the door. And then you have that other one of many iconic scenes where he's just holding the guy over the ledge, and he, what are you? I'm Batman. It's just
Batman.
Yeah. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to tell your friends about me. It's just there's so many great. The script in this film is superb, and there's so many iconic scenes. Anyway, we.
No, it's fine.
Over to you, mate. Otherwise, I'll just start acting out the film, and we'll be here for 2 hours and 9 minutes. And
well, I'll tell you what I'll do then. We're a bit late for it, but I've written it. I just as well read it. If I can find it, I will read a film synopsis, a very brief film synopsis. We've all seen the film, but just in case anyone's tuned in who hasn't seen the film and wants to go and watch it, spoiler alert, but I mean, you've had a few years to see it. Plot: Batman 1989 follows Bruce Wayne, a wealthy industrialist by day and masked vigilante Batman by night, as he takes on Gotham's criminal underworld. The Joker, a former gangster turned maniacal villain, terrorizes the city, forcing Batman into a personal high-stakes battle. So, and that's the other thing about this film. Now, I don't profess to be. I'm not a Batman comic guy. I've read Batman comics over the years, but I'm not a comic guy. I'm a film guy, and this film gives us one. I think it's clever because it doesn't. It's not Batman Begins. It's not an origin story. Batman's already an established character, but we get to see why he became the Batman in the flashbacks. But what it does give us. And I've got a slide for this. I'm so prepared tonight, Martyn.
I'm impressed. Oh, look at that.
It gives us an origin story of the Joker. Now, I've put the name under this chap here, and I will go through some more of the cast in a moment. But Hugo Blick, that's the actor's name, as Jack Napier, a young Jack Nicholson. I have to say, what a pick for a young Jack Nicholson. Look at him.
Look at the smile. I mean, it's perfect.
He's got it all, hasn't he? He's absolutely excellent.
Oh, brilliant! Yeah. I mean, this isn't Batman's real origin story, because the Joker didn't kill his parents in the comics. So
No. From what I understand, no, that's not the origin at all of Batman. But it's what Tim Burton wanted to do.
That's right. Yeah.
Well, as it said in that little synopsis, to give personal stakes in the battle. And of course, Batman doesn't find out that early on in the film.
No.
And now I don't know. When I was watching it last night. When Bruce freezes up on the steps where all the mimes come out and the Joker appears on the steps and he throws the pen into the neck of the other gangster, the other mob boss.
Yeah.
And Bruce sort of stands there and he gets hit in the arm by the bullet, and Vicky Vale sees him, played by Kim Basinger, the love interest in this film, the female character, the beautiful blonde lady in these slides. Very young Kim Basinger, 33. I found out last night she's 70 years old now. I can't believe that.
Wow.
It's mental. Is that the moment he's remembering Jack Napier, or is there something else? Because then there's the later on line where he's in the apartment with Vicky Vale. And my favourite quote of the whole film. Do you remember what I told you earlier, Martyn? My favourite quote was of the whole film.
Yeah, go on. Never rub another man's rhubarb. Well, Miss Vale, another rooster in the hen house.
And then of course, he gives the line. I'm probably going to mash the line because I'm terrible ADHD brain. You ever dance with the devil in the pale moonlight? And shoots Bruce, who's very cleverly put the silver tray in his suit jacket. And which moment is he starting to realise at the steps? Or is he just? Or is there something about the violence? Or as he's starting to realise, and what nails it is the line in the apartment from the Joker.
I can see where you're going. I think at the steps. I think because obviously he thinks Jack Napier's dead because he dropped him in the vat of acid. So I think that scene is showing the shock that he realizes he's still alive and what's happened to him. And I definitely think that in the apartment, as soon as he says, you know, do you ever dance with the devil in the pale moonlight? I always ask that of all my prey. You know, that's when Bruce breaks character and says, what? You know, that's when he knows. And then the following scene is,
you want to get nuts?
Yeah.
I'll get nuts.
Yeah. And then the following scene is him reading his parents' police file. And you know, then he has the flashback, and he remembers. Yeah. But the thing that always confused me about the film is when they're fighting on the top of the cathedral, Gotham Cathedral. He says, you know, you made me, but I made you first, or whichever way around it is. And the Joker instantly remembers, oh yeah, I killed that family, you know, 40, 50 years ago or whenever, 30 years ago. And that bit always confused me. It's because Batman never comes out and says, oh, you killed the Waynes, or you killed that family. He just literally says, you killed my parents.
I didn't pick up on that last night when I was watching it, but I mean, it's written that way, but if we can give some explanation to perhaps he's killed that many people.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
So I just want to say a quick hello to someone who's popped in. Andy, HHDX. Good man. Absolute awesome guy. Guys, after this, go check out his channel. He does gear reviews. He's nerdy like me for audio. Check him out. And the lovely gentleman has sent me out a webcam today. So thank you very much, Andy. You are a star, sir. And thank you for popping along to the chat. Let's have a look. Going back on something we said earlier, Jonathan says, yeah, Nicholson's deal on 89 was one of the biggest paydays for an actor ever. Yeah, where he had that whack. Palps his comment and give me a little grin. Adam West didn't wear hockey pads. That was all pure West under that suit. Pure West. And Kieran says the movements also make sense because of the movie Batman costume is a form of armor. Yeah, absolutely. As we were saying, it's all about the cowl, the body armor. I know it's not this film, but The Dark Knight does explore that concept about the armor, doesn't it? So again, not this series, but good to see sort of a real world explanation of it, because that's the thing with this film. Burton wanted to ground it in reality to a degree. I mean, the Joker shakes somebody's hand and burns them to a crisp in about 20 seconds. I mean,
what a great scene.
The smell in that office must have been... What's it he says to him when he's talking to him, he goes, you're a mean bastard. Good job you're dead, or something like that.
I'm glad you did.
That's it. Just like, and he's nuts. And a lot of people say that Jack Nicholson, if you go back and you watch The Shining, that there's a lot of that performance in the Joker.
Yeah.
And that makes sense. The Shining's an excellent film, but Nicholson's just mad. He's got it, but even when you see him in real life, he's got that swagger, and that's the thing with him. He does bring a lot of himself into the role as well. I think, from what I've seen of him in interviews, or the character he portrays to the public is very much like his film roles.
Just on that, there's anyone who after they've finished watching this, obviously, if they go onto YouTube and they put Jennifer Lawrence, Oscars, Jack Nicholson, there's this amazing moment from about 8 or 9 years ago when Jennifer Lawrence won an Oscar, and she'd never met Jack Nicholson before. And you can imagine he's in his 80s and he's walking around the Oscars with his dark black sunglasses at night. And he just taps her on the shoulder, and she turns around and realizes it's Jack Nicholson, and she loses it. It's one of the funniest things I've ever seen. It's definitely worth
brilliant. She fangirls it bad, doesn't she?
Absolutely, yeah.
But you would, wouldn't you?
Well, I would as well. I mean, yeah. Absolutely, yeah.
I mean, between her and him, if they were both stood there, I know I'd be fanboying Nicholson more.
Yeah.
Let's face it, you know. I'm just having a quick trawl through the comments. There's a question for you. Question for Martyn. All right. I'll read it out now. I really must read these comments before I bring them up. Question for Martyn: is the black PVC suit from the 89 movie where you got your taste for underpants from? Connor, you sod.
I just want to know how's Connor seen in my pants drawer? Come on, Connor. I need explanation now. Steph's been sending out pictures again, hasn't she?
Oh, she's got a WhatsApp group. What does Martyn wear daily? Here we go, Kieran. One of the robbers at the start of the film was played by Christopher Fairbank, who played Moxie and Alfred's Impact. Yes, I've got that. And that's a great segue, Kieran. Thank you, because I'm now going to jump back to some of the cast.
Yeah.
Let's have a little look. And I'll go through the main cast. So obviously we've got the one, the only Jack Nicholson as the Joker, or Jack Napier. Michael Keaton as Bruce Wayne. And Batman, obviously. Kim Basinger as Vicky Vale. Oh, she's great in this film. I'm not normally I don't normally have an eye for the blondes, but it's hard not to have an eye for Kim Basinger in this role. Even as a kid, I knew she was amazing. Robert Whirl as Alexander Knox. Pat Hingle as Commissioner Gordon. Now, Commissioner Gordon's great in this film. I love it at the beginning where they're going into the chemical plant and he's like countering the orders, you know.
Yeah, that little scene where he's in Wayne Manor and he videos the conversation he has with the police officer. It's a little tiny scene, but it's a great scene. You know, Eckhart. Who's in charge? Eckhart. Oh my God! You know, that's absolutely I think he played Commissioner Gordon in all 4 of the 90s.
I believe he did. Yeah. So Eckhart was played by William Hootkins, and who was he, Martyn?
He played Porkins in New Hope or Star Wars, and he was also in Raiders of the Lost Ark as well.
There we go.
Yeah,
another amazing person. Another Star Wars. Everything always goes back to Star Wars, and that's the impact. Billy D. Williams as Harvey Dent.
Yeah. I mean, Billy D was really. He had a very small part, but Tim Burton actually intended, if he came back to make the 3rd Batman film, which he was going to do at one point. Before Joel Schumacher came in, and he was going to have Billy D back as Two-Face. And that was going to be the villain for the 3rd film. So yeah, that would have been really interesting to see him as Two-Face.
100%. And we also had the excellent Michael Gough as Alfred Pennyworth. And he was Alfred in all 4 of the films. I don't know about you, Martyn. I know we're here to talk Batman 89, but I know they are, but I don't class Batman Forever and Batman and Robin as their own films as far as I'm concerned. The second you got bat nipples and you're pulling out a bat card, don't leave home without it. I'm out, you know.
I've never made it all the way through Batman and Robin, to be honest with you. And Batman Returns.
You're not missing much. No, Arnie's great in it. And Carla will tell you, Mrs. APD, that I've had a lifelong love of Uma Thurman, but yeah, I mean, that's not enough to swear. I mean, George Clooney doesn't even bother to change his voice for the role. He doesn't even go into that lower register. He's just George Clooney.
Yeah.
You know, Batman Forever, we'll touch on it briefly because I'm never going to do a real impact on it. Let's be fair. I thought Val Kilmer wasn't bad as Batman, but he was no Michael Keaton.
No.
But anyway, we don't need to talk about those films anymore, but we have to acknowledge them because... This is part of a series. So are there any standout moments from any of the actors for you, Martyn? Any absolute favourite moments that just pop in your head that we haven't already discussed? I know that's quite a broad question, but
I mean,
just to put you on the spot.
There's absolutely tons, Nick. I mean, there's the scene in the Axis Chemicals. I know we sort of touched upon that. After rewatching it again, yesterday for the first time in a while, you forget how good the directing is in that episode. And there's those. I'll try and describe it, but you know when the Joker or Napier's running up the stairs, and there's alternate stairs, so they sort of switch past each other, so you can walk up one, and then someone can walk on the other side down, and they won't see each other. And the camera, the way Tim Burton turns the camera as Napier's running up the ladder, and then you see Batman on the platform above turn, and I love that scene so much. I thought that was a really good way of making him the Joker. I mean, obviously there's the scene at the top of the cathedral again. We've touched on that's got so many great moments. Great fight in that. But I really enjoy the museum, the Guggenheim, I think it's called in the film.
Yeah.
I love that. Maybe we'll have time to go on to the soundtracks in a while, but I do love.
Absolutely, we've got time, no problem there.
I love the scene where he comes in, you know, gentlemen, let's broaden our minds, Lawrence, and he, you know, he hits on the what do they call those in those days? The oh my god, help me out, blaster, something blaster,
Ghetto blaster.
Ghetto blaster, thank you. And they're dancing around, singing, you know, ruining all the artwork, and then they obviously get to that really nasty looking bit of famous artwork that I can't remember the name of, and Bob goes to slash it, and he stops him, and, you know, I kind of like that. And then there's the whole Vicky Vale scene, and, you know, where does he get such wonderful toys?
Crap.
Yeah.
And he's looking at her portfolio.
Yeah. Oh yeah, clip.
I like it.
That's good artwork. Yeah, absolutely brilliant. And then and then he brings in Jerry Hall, and, you know, shows her what's happened, what he's done to her face. You know, it's a very dark, you know, sadistic film in places, isn't it? It's a really dark film, but it kind of then immediately goes to really silly light humor sometimes, with a bit of twisty darkness in that as well. So it's really difficult to pick a favorite scene, because the whole way through the film I'm enjoying myself when I watch this film. But in terms of acting, I think you can't really look past Jack Nicholson, can you really? I mean, no. Michael Keaton's great, Kim Basinger's great, but it's all about him in this film. But I will give a little special mention, if you don't mind, to
go for it.
Is his number one goon, Bob. I love Bob. He doesn't really say much in the entire film, but he's so loyal to the Joker all the way through it, and you kind of feel a little sad for him, don't you? You know, when
his name's Tracy Walter, and I do know that the reason he was in the film was because he was real life friends with Jack Nicholson, and Jack Nicholson insisted on him having a role in the film, so they created Bob the Goon.
Brilliant. Yeah, that's brilliant. That makes it even better, you know, because you feel really bad for the guy.
One of my best. Yeah. That's it. I'm terrible with quotes.
And we forget Jack Palance was in this film as Carl Grissom. How good! I mean, for the short amount of time he was in it, he was excellent in this as well.
He was brilliant in it. Yeah. But then shout out to Jerry Hall, who played Alicia. I mean, I know she's that disturbed character in it, but she's not a disturbed character. She's a tragic character, and this goes into the darkness that you talk about, because Jack scars her in the name of art, you know, and that mask she wears, and and the absolute fear on Vicky Vale's face when she comes over, and then in the apartment, going back to the scene where Bruce gets shot and then just pisses off afterwards, but there you go. When he smashes the mask on the thing, I can imagine people jumped in the cinema when they first saw that.
Yeah. You can't make an helmet without cracking some eggs.
And that's the thing with him. He's just, all roads are leading back to Jack Nicholson in this film. He was absolutely blooming incredible in this movie. I'm going to take a look at a few of the comments before I'll go into a few of the figures for the film in a moment, the budget and what have you, just to, again, cross the I's and dot the T's. Jonathan Redmond says Nicholson does tend to play himself. Absolutely. Blue Sasquatch, hello there, says, is this live? I think it's pre-recorded. I'm not sure. I can't work it out. Martin, are you alive? Are you there? Is this real? What? Are you an AI simulation?
They do a better job if I was.
We've also had, I can't remember if I said hello to Mr. B already, but if not, you get a double hello. Mr. B has joined us. Good to see you, Mr. B. Blue Sasquatch saying hello to everyone. Oh, we've also had the arrival of G-Force. What's up, G? Good to see you. Let's have a little scroll down. What's Kieran say? Kim Basinger's also amazing in 9.5 weeks and makes Never Say Never. Right, no, so somebody out there, I don't want to cover any films from the main Bond series. It's too big. Well, there's 2 films I want to cover. Never Say Never Again and On Her Majesty's Secret Service. So if there's any fans out there, I say not the main series, but I'd love to cover those films one day. But yeah, Kim Basinger's amazing in that film. It's just Kieran also says, why did Batman and Robin get nipples, but Batgirl didn't? Well, there's a question for you. There is a question for you. And I think it's best we leave it unanswered this evening, but you're more than welcome to drop me a comment on the Action Popcast Instagram if you have an explanation. I do see your comment, Palps. Let's have a look. What's G saying? Did you all have the little Batman song as kids? Jingle bells, Batman smells Robin Lane. Absolutely international. That song is international. Did we already? Oh, Rolando's here. What's up, Rolando? Good to see you. Good to see you. Good to see you. And there we are. APD, where the hell are you going to find Bond fans in this group? I don't know. It's going to be a difficult one, isn't it? Well, I know if I just to qualify, I know this is a Batman stream. The reason I Never Say Never Again is appealing is because it's outside of the main series, and On Her Majesty's Secret Service doesn't get a lot of love, but it's one of my favourite Bond films. So anyway, back to Batman. Let's have a look. Let's stop sabotaging my own show. So year of release, we know, June 23rd, 89 in the USA, August the 11th, 89 in the UK. Because at that time we did tend to get things just ever so slightly later. As we've already said, production company was Warner Brothers, budget of $35 million. Now, I've read reports that this actually swelled to as large as $48 million, which did cause problems during production, but I don't think they were too worried because back in the day, they did manage to gross over $411 million worldwide on release. So... they did all right. What have I got here?
I think it was
I had a question for you. So let's bear in mind, I mean, some people say online it's so conflicted as to what's the first big superhero movie. I mean, I would argue that perhaps Superman was the one, but it says... The question I've got for you here is the film's, sorry, put your glasses on, Nick. The film's financial success proved that superhero films could be as serious and profitable, helping to establish a modern summer blockbuster model. Do you think that this trend is still carried on today? Well, that's a silly question. I believe you can answer that. I think we know the answer, but what's your views on it, Martyn?
Well, I mean, I think the 80s in general answered that question, not just Batman. I think every film that came out in the 80s that we all remember and love, people of my generation, proved that summer was king. But I think in the world we live in now, it's not really summer anymore. I think it's different points of the year. I think Christmas can be just as successful as the summer.
I think there's there's a few, 3 or 4 points in the year now where you sort of get those big releases, as you say, absolutely Christmas.
Easter,
you get summer. I mean, what was it? They put Beetlejuice back. What film was it they put Beetlejuice 2 back for? Because they worry now about releasing big films at the same time. And to me, it kind of, I don't know why they didn't hold it for Halloween, but they brought it out early because it would have conflict anyway. I digress. I waffle. I cut you off there, Martyn. I do apologise, but so you're sort of in the feeling that now it's all become one big sort of melting pot.
I mean, I don't want to. Obviously, we don't want to get into a big discussion of the state of cinema these days. But I think when this came out, we were in the golden age of movies and summer blockbusters, you know. And people in the chat might be able to correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think there was even though, you know, what you say is probably true, that it's opened the eyes of executives that comic book movies could be successful. I don't think there was another comic book movie released after this until Batman Returns. So they obviously couldn't have been that confident that it was a successful model, because, as I say, they waited for the next Batman to come out to be the next one. So I know I might be wrong. There might have been other films, but I can't recall off the top of my head.
Yeah, so you know when you write a question when you're doing notes and you think, oh yeah, that'll be a good question, then you read it and go, yeah, we probably sort of answered that as we go along.
No, it's a good question, because you know it has changed now. I don't think it's relevant anymore. I don't think you know, I think films are made completely differently now. I think they're 99% made to make money more than actually entertain. And
it does feel as though films now don't have so much of the passion of the director. For example, when you've got Marvel films or Disney films firing multiple directors because they're worried that rather than letting one person just get a grip of it and taking a punt, letting them get their vision out there on screen. It seems like the execs are stepping in far too much. But as you say, not to stay on this too long because this could take up the rest of the time, but that's sort of my feeling on it. It's far too exec. There doesn't seem to be the trust in the director anymore, is my feeling on it.
Yeah, I agree.
But into a few more of my production notes. We've already said this is Tim Burton. He is the director. The writers were Sam Hann and Warren Scarron. Now, correct me in the chat if I'm wrong, but I do believe that Sam Hann was the main writer, Ham, Hamm. And there was, they had to do rewrites for this movie. And I believe due to a writer's strike, he couldn't take part in them. And that's why they brought in Warren Scarron to rewrite parts of the movie.
Yeah,
that's my understanding from a couple of sources I've read. Some of the information, when you research these, you do get some conflicting reports. One person says one thing, one says another. And research is basically watching YouTube and Googling stuff, you know, so you're at the mercy of the internet. Certainly these days. Cinematographer Roger Pratt. And the filming location, you've already said, was Pinewood Studios, England, with Gotham sets built to reflect a gritty industrial look. And while we're there on that, how do you feel about the look of Gotham in this movie? I loved it.
Well, I'm glad you asked. It's the first line in my notes. Is as soon as the intro starts with the bat sign at the beginning with the awesome music, you have a pan down and you see this gothic city, but it's got a bit of steampunk, I think, mixed in. So you've got like definitely. Gothic steampunk, and I think it's perfect. I think for the representation of Batman they were going for, it's absolutely perfect because everybody in the film looks like they live in the 1950s. You know, they've got the trench coat and the hats. You know, they all. The cars look older than they should be for the era that, you know, we're watching it in. So I think that's the perfect art design, would it be? I think in the movie, I think they really nailed that. And I think, you know, when it comes to Tim Burton in all his movies, it's very similar in what he does. It's always gothic, isn't it? But I think in this case, there's definitely a touch of steampunk mixed in. There's a lot of industrial looking mixed in with gothic cathedrals. You know, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I think it's perfect.
Yeah, I read somewhere that the look was sort of based on industrial German stuff.
Yeah,
but stuff's not the right word. I couldn't think of
the
word. You mean. My brain went then. And I also want to say that this film did actually won the Academy Award for Best Art Direction. Well, there we go.
Yeah, it worked.
It worked, and I think it was brave, and I think it was a good decision to going back to Batman and to get used to these slides. I like the all black suit. I love the look of Batman in this film. You can remember the trailers from being a kid. I only remember sort of the build up to the film briefly. It's like a little bit in my head from before it premiered on Sky. Do you think that this look for Batman, obviously the black suit has pretty much carried on. I mean, I know Ben Affleck's suit was sort of had the greys and that in it in the DC version, but how do you feel this stands as an iconic suit? Do you think this is the one that's now set the bar? Because I certainly see influence of this in every Batman film going forward.
Yeah, there's certainly an influence, but I would say, could you see Christian Bale wearing this Batman suit in their version of Gotham City, and vice versa? Could you see Michael Keaton wearing Christian Bale's Batman outfit in this Tim Burton's Gothic universe? I don't think you can. So while they retain very clear similarities to each other, I think their looks are absolutely perfect for the type of Batman movie they were in. So,
yeah, I see where you're going. I get that.
So, I mean,
entirely.
The big yellow bat sign and the yellow belt, you know, that's not gonna cut it in a real life, you know, because they tried to base the Nolan trilogy, didn't they, and then kind of make it realistic to life, you know, as we have it now, if you like. That's probably not the right terminology, but
they were going for that They were, although it was obviously fictionalized and over the top, they were going for that ultra realistic look set in the real world.
Yeah.
I know lots of things happen in those films which are just BS and wouldn't happen, but they kept it as grounded as they could.
Grounded, that's the word. Yep, that's it, definitely. But I think when you see that, when you look at that Batman suit, it's definitely all the way up to the latest Batman, the Batman, I think it's called, isn't it? The latest film. All of the suits you could put in a line, and you definitely see the ears, but then we're talking about the suits. That's not coming from the films, is it? Or even the TV show. That's coming from the comics. I'm sure the DC experts in the chat will be able to say that look, we're waxing lyrical about what it looked like in the film, but really it came from the comic books, and they've just done their version of what it was like from the comic books. So we have was it Bob Kane, the creator of Batman? We've got him to thank for the look. So you can see in those two pictures there, you can see that design was always there. And then each director that's come in, whether it be TV, movie, whatever, have done their own interpretation of it. And for the most part, I'd say pretty much every single one of them, except for perhaps the two that we're not going to talk about, have been really, really good. So but if we're going to ask Martyn, what's your favorite Batman suit in any movie or TV show, it's going to be this one. It's iconic to me, with the big yellow bat signal in the middle, or big bat sign. So and
a little fact on the yellow bat sign on Batman's chest, something I remember from the research. If you look in the film, and I don't know if you can see it again on this far overused slide now, the design of the bat on the yellow is actually slightly different to the logo that was used for the film, and that was something to do with they were worried they weren't going to get the rights to it. Now, they corrected it for Batman Returns, but that is why they slightly changed it. It's a small detail, but I'm sure some people out there did spot that.
Yeah.
Sorry, had to do a cough. Sai saying DC forever there. Gerard, technically TNMT movie was a comic book movie. Absolutely, yeah. It was indeed. And I've did a whole podcast on the original Turtles movies. It was called Heyday versus Bayday. It's on the channel, so if you want to check it out after this, me and Kim Gonick did that as our first ever podcast. Bear with the audio, but it was the first time we ever did it. But there's some good information in there if you guys are interested in that after. Just to plug myself. Let me have a look where it is I wanted to go next. Sorry about this. Trying to follow some sort of plan. Yes. Before we get into the music, let's talk about this.
Oh, the best Batmobile.
The best Batmobile. Forget your tumblers.
Yeah.
I know what Robert Pattinson had in the Batman was cool because it was sort of like that early Batman year one, like before the tech, but come on. Look at this Batmobile.
Yeah, nothing beats this as far as I'm concerned. I mean, obviously, I'm a big fan of the 60s Batmobile. That means a lot to me in my childhood watching that on TV. But when you saw this for the first time, and he says, "Get in the car," and which car, and then he presses the button and the cockpit just slides open. I mean, you're just like, oh yeah. This is absolutely, I love this car so much, everything about it. And I did read about this. Apparently they made a full-size polystyrene model and sprayed it black and everything, and showed Tim Burton what they were thinking. And he said, yeah, it looks good, but where are the doors? And they hadn't thought about putting any doors in it, which is why they came up with the idea of the sliding cockpit, just like a fighter plane. I think it was a Tornado they used the design for. Or Harrier, actually, I think it was a Harrier jump jet. But yeah, I love this, and there's so. I mean, you see a lot more of what he can do in the second Batman film. But for me, that moment where he gets out of the car and he just says "shields," and
cool, so cool the way they do that. I'm going to bring up a couple of comments, and there's no right or wrong on this. We've got Palps and G-Force both basically saying 66 Batmobiles go. And yeah, the 66 Batmobile is, it's massively iconic. And this is just, for me, although I saw the 66 series before this was the Batmobile that blew my tiny mind. This has got a special place in my heart. I mean, I love the back where the flames come out, which is clearly a nod to the 66 Batmobile. You know, sort of the jet exhaust at the back of this. But I can totally understand why people are calling the 66 Batmobile GOAT, but just for me, and you said the best Batmobile too, so why is it the best one for you? For me, it's the nostalgia thing. What's it for you, Martyn?
Yeah, I mean, obviously nostalgia plays a huge part in it, like it does with anything that I like, it seems. But I think it just, I can't say it more simpler than it just looks bloody cool. It just looks incredible, and it kind of reminds me a little bit of a James Bond car, because as you say, you see more of it in the second film, but it does little things that like a James Bond car would do. And you see in this film, when it wants to do a tight corner, it fires a harpoon out.
That is so cool. And Mythbusters did an episode on that. I can't remember if they could do it, but they basically built a car to see. I don't think it worked, but anyway, that moment where it fires sort of that wire and the harpoon, and it catches that sort of steel girder structure thing, and all the cars crash, which leads to the moment, like you say, Shields, where they have to get out. They're trapped by that tractor or digger or whatever it is, and then one of the other funny moments in the film. How much do you weigh? 108.
Just to quickly, there's actually a little in that scene where they're being chased in the Batmobile. There's a little sort of homage to the 1966 Batman series. At least
where they go into the cave.
No, it's just a visual thing. I might be wrong, but for me, it was you had all the Joker's goons chasing them, and they had purple cars with green roofs, and I thought to myself, that's totally something you would have seen in the 66 series. If Batman was being chased in a car chase, the goons would all be wearing the same outfits like they were in this film, with the jackets with the Joker sign on their chest, and they were driving the same silly cars that you would have seen, or colourful cars that you would have seen in the 66 series. So I thought that might have been a little homage. And then once the goons catch up with Vicky Vale, when she's up on the roof and she's taking photographs, I did read this myself, that when they're taking the photographs, that's kind of like, you had the boom and the slam and the whack, whenever Batman and Robin would punch people. Well, if you watch carefully, every time he makes a contact with a hit, the flash goes, and that was kind of to represent that in the 60s TV show.
Do you know, I didn't pick up on that, but that does make perfect sense. Just want to chuck a couple more comments here about Batmobiles.
That's a great
Jonathan
Batmobile.
Redmond said best looking Batmobile ever, but Tumblr had the better action scenes. It did, but of course technology had moved on as well, and it was that grounded look. It was using a piece of military equipment. Well, so I think that's why they went there with that. I do like the Tumbler, but something about the sleek design of the 89 Batmobile.
I'd have to say that my favourite Batman vehicle in the movies, though, has to be that motorbike from The Dark Knight.
Well, when the Tumbler sort of crashes and
the two-wheeled motorbike thing with it's just a ball, isn't it? Just the way it's like zooming around that shopping mall. Oh,
now it's interesting you say that. So something I was watching last night, and I'll come straight to it. Gerard O'Connor saying the animated series for me, guys, best Batmobile. And Connor saying 89 Batmobile looks good and all, but you'll never get a week's shopping in it from Tesco in the boot. Excellent observation, Connor. So, and the other iconic vehicle in this film, and it was hard to find I think this is the prop here, up close. The other iconic bit in this film, the Batwing, the bit where it flies up to the moon and makes the Bat logo. Excellent moment in the film. However, when the Joker stood on the street by the parade, and he's there and he pulls the massive gun out and he shoots the Batwing. Yeah. Watching that last night, because things come back to you, I'm thinking, Dark Knight, Batman Dark Knight is when the Joker's in it and he's like, come on. That's an absolute nod to that. It's got to be.
Yeah. And also, Nick, I had exactly the same thought, and this is in my notes. I've got two notes, and the first one was exactly what you just said. That is either a nod or, if at the very least, it's a very similar scene. But there's also the scene in '89 Batman where Bruce is rushing back to the Batcave with Vicky Vale in the Batmobile, and that operatic music's playing, and he's in a rush, and he's getting to the Batcave. And then in Batman Begins, there's a similar scene where Rachel has been gassed by the Scarecrow, and he's rushing back to get her back to the Batcave to give her the antidote to the poison. And I feel those two scenes have been shot very similarly as well. So yeah, there's a couple of nods there, maybe.
Yeah, it's just the moment. I was watching it last night, and with the bit where Nicholson's there and he pulls the gun out and he shoots it and it crashes, I'm like, this is just screaming at me. Dark Knight. I know, obviously, 89's first. The moment where he's riding at him on the tumbler bike, and then he crashes the bike, and then even another callback moment. So when they go to lift his mask, when Vicky Vale's there taking the picture, in the Nolan film Dark Knight, they go to lift his mask and it zaps them. These little nods to 89, I believe these are all nods back to the 89 film. Could be wrong, but they just seem too similar for me to not be nods.
Definitely. I definitely agree.
Without this movie, I don't think you'd have Dark Knight, Batman Begins, Dark Knight Rises. I don't think the Nolan trilogy would have been what it was without the basis of this back in the day. And just to finish up on the Batmobiles, I haven't got pictures of them, but I wasn't the biggest fan of the Batmobiles in Forever and Batman and Robin.
Yeah, I don't even want to talk about them, to be honest.
I wasn't even a big fan of the scenery. I wasn't a fan of how they made the city all neon painted. And anyway, we don't have to talk about that.
No, a Batmobile that drives up a wall, no.
It's not doing it for me. It's not doing it for me. Right, let's get into the soundtrack, because we're an hour and 15 in. It's pretty bloody important to this film. I believe it is a big element of what makes this film. And so we've got Prince's soundtrack, the songs, and we've also got Danny Elfman's score. So shall we go at Prince first and then come to Mr. Elfman?
Yeah, if I could just tell you a little story about
please do
my experience with the soundtracks, if you don't mind. I obviously had just seen this film, and I said to my parents, I think it was my grandparents, that said, "What do you want for Christmas?" I said, "Please, can I have this? I don't want anything else. I just want the Batman soundtrack CD, please." And I meant I wanted the Danny Elfman soundtrack, because I've always been a bit more of a orchestral kind of music fan than I am actual. Anyway, so 3 months went by, Christmas Day arrived, and I was like, oh, yes. So I opened up my grandparents' Christmas present, and there was the Batman logo on the front, and I was like, oh, this is brilliant. Opened it up, Prince. and I was, of course, I was polite. I was like, oh, thanks, Grandma, that's brilliant. Oh, this is excellent. Thanks so much. But I have to say, there was a tinge of disappointment to having received that.
Yeah, because they did release it in two separate albums.
Until I got home and I put that Prince soundtrack on, and because back in those days you couldn't afford to go out and buy VHS tapes willy-nilly because they were quite expensive.
They really were.
Yeah, it became my Batman lifeline, and I listened to that CD so much on repeat. I mean, perhaps they weren't the best songs, but the fact they always put clips from the film in all of the songs, it just made it for me, and I must have worn that CD out. I love that soundtrack. I genuinely do. I like Prince anyway, but I was surprised to love the Prince soundtrack as much as I actually did.
Yeah, the Prince soundtracks are excellent. It's very 80s. It's very Prince, or the artist formerly known as Prince, or whatever. In my notes here, I've got Bat Dance hit #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. So,
but that came out before the film, didn't it? Because I think it was a promo for the film. Yeah,
it was. Have you seen the video for it? It's very weird.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Like Prince as half Batman, half Joker, very Two-Face, yes,
yeah.
with all the dancers, and it's just bloody bizarre. But it's Prince. I mean, I love Prince. I've said to people before, Prince, if you know anything about Prince, if you're a musician or anything, Prince was one of the most talented musicians. He could play every instrument. He was a musical genius. Whether you appreciate his music or not, whether you like it or not, Prince, you can listen to interview online of the best guitar players out there, / multiple amazing guitarists out there have all said, nah, Prince is the best guitarist we've ever heard. Like, for his ability, I'm a bass player, an ex-bass player now. His bass playing ability, everything. He could do everything. And it wasn't just his ability to play the instruments, it was the ability to make those songs. And I think it hit really well. I think the Prince songs hit well for the era. They do say that they initially wanted Michael Jackson involved as well, but Tim Burton wasn't that keen on it. But he couldn't do it anyway because of a tour or something or other. So, yeah, I think Prince's music in this absolutely, and whenever Joker's walking in with like the ghetto blaster and that, and you're hearing that Prince music, and it's played through the parade as well, isn't it? It's all Prince. Yeah, it's. I mean, I believe he did 9 songs for the film.
That's right.
So
yeah, I think only 3 appear in the movie, perhaps 4.
3 appear in the movie. Yeah. And sorry, carry on, dude.
No, I think there's one right at the beginning as the family are walking away from the theatre trying to find a taxi. You hear one in the background. There's obviously there's one in Wayne Manor when he's holding the party. Oh no, there must be 4 then, because there's also one in the Flugenheim or whatever it's called, and then there's obviously the one during the parade. So there must be 4 in the movie.
I'm terrible. I didn't write down what songs they were that were used in the movie, but that they're all there to be heard. I mean, you watch the film, it's all there, but then of course, it's backed up by Danny Elfman's score. Now, interestingly, he wasn't happy with it. He felt that the producers, the people in the record, let the sound let it down. He felt that it wasn't. They didn't mix it, master, whatever. He felt they didn't do as good a job for it as he wanted them to. But then I think history says that I think they probably did do a good job.
I think so. I think I said at the beginning, I think if you were to say what are your top 3 favorite superhero themes, I think it'd be hard pushed to knock Superman off the number 1 spot from Johnny Williams. But I think this, for me personally, is number 2, nailed on, no competition. And whatever number 3 would be, it would be a long distance off. I love this soundtrack by Danny Elfman. I was when I was first started to work, so I had disposable cash for the first time. This was probably one of the first soundtracks I bought because I love this soundtrack so much. It's very Danny Elfman, and obviously over the years we've come to, when we hear it, it's like when you watch a Tim Burton film, you don't need to ask who directed it. When you hear a Danny Elfman soundtrack, you don't need to ask who composed it. It's
absolutely not.
It's very iconic, and the actual Batman theme, I don't want to repeat myself because I said this at the beginning, but it's just incredible, and that scene
captures all the emotions, doesn't it? It's got everything. You feel it. When I hear any musical score, soundtrack, and it grabs you, and I think everyone else has always tried to sort of get that. He set the bar. I mean, when you think things that Elfman's done, Nightmare Before Christmas, and the reason I bring that one up first is because on this channel, after this, if you want to check it out, again, me and Kim Gonick did an action popcast on The Nightmare Before Christmas, and we went very deep into the music of Danny Elfman on it. But Nightmare Before Christmas, Edward Scissorhands, the first film I ever saw at the cinema, funnily enough, and Beetlejuice, Spider-Man 2002, Men in Black 1997, just to name a few. This guy's prolific.
I do like his Spider-Man theme, to be honest with you, as well. Yeah, it's an excellent theme. Yeah,
he's got that superhero feel. And I just want to say hello to Roosters, Treasures. Thank you for joining the chat. Prince was dating Kim Basinger at the time of filming. I did not know that, but that's a very cool fact.
I have a similar fact. at the time of making of this film, Michael Keaton was dating Michelle Pfeiffer, and Michelle Pfeiffer went for the role of Vicky Vale but didn't get it. And then, irony of ironies, Batman Returns comes along. Michael Keaton's no longer dating Michelle Pfeiffer, and she gets the role as Catwoman. So, you know, swings and roundabouts. Brilliant. Love it.
Hey, there we go. There we go. What's it? Gerard says here, Vicky V on screen always held her high heels when jumping in and out of the Batmobile as the heels kept scratching the paintwork. I hadn't come across that, but I can believe it.
Yeah.
I can. But she takes her high heels off a lot. She takes them off to go up the stairs in the cathedral. There's a few moments in the film where she wasn't very comfortable in those shoes. So, but can you blame her?
No.
Poor girl having to walk around in those. Well, the question I had for you was, how do you think the music shaped the tone of Batman? Is that, yeah, I'll ask it now. Do you just as well ask it? Let's combine the Elfman score, the Prince soundtrack. I've sort of said before, this goes hand in hand with the film, but have you got any other thoughts as to how this made this film, how it integrated with it? Anything else you want to say on it before we move on?
Well, I think the Prince soundtrack side of it, I believe I read that Tim Burton didn't want him involved in it at all. He didn't want his music in the film, and he just had to do it because he was a Warner Brothers artist and Warner Brothers wanted it. But what that music does is it adds an element of fun to the film in certain moments, I think, and it kind of adds to the comedic value of the Joker in some of his scenes. I think it works quite well. But the Danny Elfman music makes the film. I can't remember what I was watching the other day, but there's a new John Williams documentary coming out on Disney Plus, and Steven Spielberg says, watch one of your most favorite iconic films, but watch it with the sound off, then watch it with the music on. And he's 100% right. It just changes the film when you think of classic films, and it would do exactly the same with this. I don't think without that Batman theme that Elfman wrote, of course it would be a good film, but it elevates the film to a higher level, in my opinion, the soundtrack.
So I wasn't eye-rolling you then. I was eye-rolling myself.
I think you know, it's a gothic set film, if you like, and Danny Elfman does gothic really, really well. And he had some gothic. There's an orchestra obviously playing, but then there's vocals mixed in there as well, which at certain moments, which gives an operatic sort of style of score. I absolutely love, you know, again, I'm not going to repeat myself, I love the score, and I think it's one of the successful parts of many that make this film great.
Absolutely. I've got to say hello to this reprobate, Mr. Reynolds of Reynolds Reviews.
Hey, Luke.
I know you're going to appreciate this comment, Martyn. Trust. Who do you trust? What makes you a real lover? Trust.
That's the song from the parade, isn't it? But that's also that I've written a couple of quotes down. But Luke, there's also the quote when the song finished, when he goes, "Who do you trust? Hubba hubba hubba, money money money. Who do you trust?" Love that quote so much. And the bit where he's about to let off the gas, you know, now comes the part where I relieve you, the little people, of the burden of your failed and useless lives. But as my plastic surgeon always said, if you gotta go with a smile. Amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah. I mean, we haven't dived really deep into the plot of the film, because everyone here has seen it, and I would say, if there is anyone watching who hasn't seen it, I know it's all these years later, but watch it. Don't let us tell you it beat for beat. Go and absolutely watch the movie, because it's a treat. It's something to behold. Gerard O'Connor, Prince was ahead of his game musically and business wise. Yeah, he was. Oh God, you could do a show on Prince. To be a massive show. He was genius. Kieran says Kim had to take her shoes off a lot because she towered over Keaton. I can believe that. Yeah. Tall girl, and I think Keaton's only 5'9", 5'10". He's not I know it says average, but you know, stick a set of 6-inch heels on Kim Basinger, she's gonna be tall, you know. And hello to Sofa Ninja. Hello, thank you for joining us. Hot take: Jack is the best Joker. I think there's many who would agree with that.
I think I'd agree with it.
I think he's my favourite Joker.
Yeah, me too.
Closely followed by
Heath.
Well, Heath, yeah, absolutely.
Very close second, but very a different kind of Joker.
Yeah, I mean, I love. Well, we've gushed so much over Jack Nicholson this evening, and I don't feel we've given enough love to Michael Keaton because he was great. He's a great Bruce Wayne, great everyman.
Yeah.
Played the action parts really well. And somebody else said in the comments earlier, and I'm sorry I didn't bring it up, that you can have any stuntman in the bat suit, but you do need someone who can play a good Bruce Wayne. So sorry, whoever's comment that was. But yeah, no, you made a really good point there. And Keaton delivered, and against all odds, 50,000 people are lobbying against Warner Brothers to get him sacked before they'd even seen any of the test footage or the trailer footage, which is absolutely crazy.
That does happen a lot, doesn't it, in movies? You get people that write in and say this is going to be the worst casting choice ever.
They did it about Heath Ledger, as we said earlier.
And they did it with the latest Bond. Come on, help me out.
Daniel Craig.
When he was named Bond, everyone was this is going to be the worst James Bond ever.
Oh, you can't have a blonde James Bond, right? Well, as much as they're not my favourite films in the series, and this is a Batman stream, there's nothing wrong with him as. No, it's fine. It's because I'm a huge Bond fan, so I've got to limit myself here. There's nothing wrong with him as Bond. I can pick holes in the series of films, but you got to give people a chance. I mean, Robert Pattinson got it really bad. People absolutely slammed the choice of Robert Pattinson, and I thought he was great in The Batman. I thought he was excellent. In fact, I was chatting to Luke about this the other day, and I do shift from time to time. Having watched Batman 89 last night, it's reconfirmed that it is my favourite Batman film. But, here, hot take, I prefer The Batman to any of the Dark Knight series.
I enjoyed it. It was really good.
But it's just whatever tickles your pickle. But I just had to bring this comment up here. Luke, and we've already touched on this, but yeah, evening, lads. My two favourite quotes: "This town needs an enema," and "Never rub another man's rhubarb." And you said earlier, this is such a quotable film, and it really is.
I mean, I'm going to have to fire a couple more. I've got them, the bit where the Batman's got Napier up and he just drops him down, and Jack Napier just sort of turns to him and goes, "Nice outfit," just simple two words, it's just absolutely brilliant. And "I'm of a mind makes a mookie." Phone book. It's just absolutely brilliant. I love it. It's the whole way through. It's just quote after quote after quote that you can do. It's just brilliant film.
We're getting to the end of this now, so let's try and hit in some of the comments. No, we could chat all night, but this is the thing. We have a time frame. Sofa Ninja, the song "When Joker Wrecked the Museum" fits so well. It was a great scene. It is a great scene. I love that, especially that sort of Roman head. And they paint the green hair on it and the red. That's one of my favourite things to do. That. Another thing I love in the film is the present he leaves for Vicky Vale in the apartment, and the hand pops up with the dead roses. That's so good. Let's see what else we've got here. I've seen a few people reference this tonight. I've got a few facts here because I like to have a few facts for if they come up. Michael Keaton's suit. What's it say? I've seen Keaton's suit. It's not big, and he wears Nikes. Yeah, Michael Keaton's Batman boots are a pair of modified Nike Air Max, I believe.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So yeah, there's that. Another cool fact: the Batmobile. Let's bring it up because these slides will never get used again. We just want to make the most. The headlights on the Batmobile are, I don't know which model of Honda Civic it was, but they are upside down Honda Civic headlights. I guess go with real world tech to get it. So see what else we got. Sofa says agreed, Heath a close second. Yep. The music can definitely make or break a film. 100% Jojo. 100%. Music can be so crucial to a film. What else have we got here? Mr. Reynolds, Ledger played a great Joker, but Jack got the perfect blend of psycho and humor just right. He did, and I think that's what will always be remembered for his Joker. And it's kind of a shame. It's kind of a shame that. How do you feel on them killing the Joker off at the end of the movie?
Yeah, I mean, I was devastated because I wanted to see him come back. And I remember a trailer for Batman Returns when that came out. I think it was at 92. And I remember one of the characters in the trailer, if I remember correctly, was kind of wearing a clown outfit. And he says the line, "The boss is back." So, of course, being an impressionable 14-year-old at the time, I was thinking, oh, they found a way of bringing the Joker back, because I didn't know any better. Obviously, didn't have the internet. We didn't know who was in it or whatever. And so I got to the cinema thinking they brought Jack Nicholson back as the Joker, and then inevitably found out, obviously, they were talking about Penguin.
I think you've already laid your mitts. I think you've already claimed Batman Returns, haven't you, for another appearance on this series, haven't you?
I was gonna say, right before you signed off, I was gonna say, please invite me back. I would love to come and do Batman Returns, because I've got it in
text. I've got it in text. You literally you wanted that film. You've already claimed it.
Excellent stuff. Because it's hard for me to choose which of these two I like the best. It changes from time to time, because the second one is a very different film, a lot darker than this one. But it has such amazing moments in it. But no, in the future, I'd love to come back and talk Batman Returns if you were willing to have me.
Oh, mate, you'll be back on. Like I said to Luke Reynolds and Cy Manga Fandanga, if you appear on this channel, it's a lifelong contract. I own your souls. So careful agreeing to it, guys. Tree Theodore, hello Tree. He says, if it slipped your minds, hit the like and say, I'm Batman. Yeah. I tell you what, let's blow up the comment section. If you're still here, if you enjoyed the stream, just put I'm Batman in the comment section. That'd be awesome. And and if you haven't subscribed to the channel and you've enjoyed tonight's show, absolutely give the video a like if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to the channel if you want to. I'm not very good at saying that. I've always get, but people tell me I must say it, so I've said it. Let's have a little look at some of the other comments we'll wrap up. Sofa Ninja, Patterson did well acting, but I don't buy him physically being able to handle groups. He's like 150 pounds. I see what you're saying. I mean, but then, Christian Bale, then I say he's not that big. He got so big for Batman Begins, they had to tell him to go away and lose a ton of muscle mass. So, let's have a little look. Roosters, treasures. What are your thoughts on the Switch 2009 version where the sound effects on the original 1989 were taken out?
I heard about that.
I haven't seen. I hadn't even heard of that. So if they have changed anything I assume he's saying they've changed the sound effects for the film or something, or other. Is that what's going on?
I think it was the Blu-ray. Rooster will have to correct me if I'm wrong, but I read that today, that in the Blu-ray they changed the sound effects, and then in
leave films alone.
Yeah, and then in the latest 4K, possibly, I think it was released, they've gave it more of a blue hue. They've taken.
Why?
Yeah, I know, it's so annoying. I don't know why they've done it with so many of my favorite films over the years.
Well, like Ben Kenobi's Scream. In Star Wars. What was that about? Right, I'm just going to have here we go. On the 4K release, Warner Brothers changed the sound effects of the original 89 print. Well, Warner Brothers, that was a own goal as far as I'm concerned. That's just silly. Jumpy saying, gotta go, great stream, chat, everyone take care. Let's have a look. I'm seeing some I'm Batmans. Look, again, if I haven't, thank you guys for tuning in this evening. Chat, you've been brilliant. Sorry I can't get to all the chats, but there's always so much to get into. Sorry about the earlier error with the with the Frank Miller comic, but there you go. Read your notes. Martyn, you've been a fantastic guest.
I've loved it.
I believe I hope your channel is linked and plugged in the video description. If it's not, I will check straight after and make sure it is. Do you want to, before we wrap up, do you want to let people know anything you've got coming up? Anything? Promote yourself. Go nuts.
Well, I mean, I haven't. We've got Echo Base Live as we record. This is this weekend, so Adam and I are going there, and we usually do a little Echo Live video, and we'll have our usual challenge that we have for each other, which will be quite good fun. So yeah, look out for that at some point next week. But no, apart from that, I've really enjoyed tonight. I love talking Batman '89. It's been fantastic, and I've really enjoyed myself, Nick. So thanks,
mate. You've been an exceptional guest. Absolutely brilliant. Again, chat, couldn't do it without you. It's great seeing you here. Sorry, as I've already said, but I hate the fact I can't get to your comments, but I do read them as we go through, and you are appreciated. And I love that you all have a conversation amongst yourself as well. It makes the community, doesn't it? And it makes these shows hopefully fun for you guys to attend. So you've been great, Martyn. You've been great. I see a few new names tonight. Thank you for joining us. Hopefully you've enjoyed what you've seen. Hopefully we delivered and we didn't destroy the legacy of Batman too much. And for myself, don't know what I've got coming up next, but keep an eye on the channel, hit the bell, do all that likey stuff. I think we've got a live and moderately entertaining coming up next week, and then we will be back very shortly after with another Real Impact. So I've just got to confirm a few things, but I think it's time now to do the awkward wave and say goodbye. Bye.
bye,
Bye. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
bye.